And we will answer any question that you have. A lot of you have been very quiet, and I want to hear from you. I don't just want to hear from the professor and my Mexican Monterrey friend and my friend from Oklahoma. And where are you from? Brisbane. Okay.
I have just questioning on these slides, the framework that you're talking about.
Yes.
That situation specifically. Do you have a real life example or case study that we can look at on our own that pertains to that specific example?
Which example? Bill Gates?
No. The framework example that you have.
Yeah, the diamond framework, yes.
Yeah.
It's called In Praise of Incomplete Leader.
Yeah.
Yes. Thomas, where's Thomas? Just remind me. I have that.
Okay, so the one where you have to like get into that area and do it yourself kind of thing. That one.
Oh, that one?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I thought this was brilliant. I thought we were like so brilliant. Turns out Jack Welch has written about this too at GE. It's just different words, and you'll find other people who talk about this. This is called the terrorist. This is called the star. This is called the dog, and this is called the puppy over here. This box.
Okay, but do you have a real life example about?
I've written up.
Or something like a case study on that? Because I don't know who that guy's name, so it's like.
Manny Ramirez? You don't know who Manny Ramirez is? You don't like the sport, do you?
Not really.
Yeah, that was just one example. If you tell that story, how many people have had to deal with a terrorist before? Tell us about it. No. Someone who... Gotta go. Who has had to deal with someone from this quadrant? Tell us about it.
So a coworker, she's been with the company a long time.
Yeah?
I guess she's tenured, so they can't get rid of her. She has very little desire to be there, but she does do her job very well.
Yeah?
She has like the longevity knowledge. So it's she has no loyalty to the company.
Yeah.
And we're not sure why she hasn't retired, but she's there. She's like,
So you haven't dealt with it, though. It just exists.
she's government worker. It's a little harder if you just
Yeah. So who has had one of these in their organization and dealt with it? Go ahead. Tell us. Yeah? By the way, sales is the most common place. Sales, manufacturing are the most common place where this happens. They're the most aggressive about it, and they're most obvious.
We have a B2B product, so he used to get the most sales, and that gave him a lot of ego, and he kept acting like, I get the most money, so who are you to talk to me? I get them to build the product, but I get the money for it.
Yeah. That's very common with salespeople. I bring the money in. Who are you? Don't bother me. Don't hold me accountable.
And so we had to let him go after the quarter ended, and because we didn't want to hamper the relationship he had with clients as well.
Yeah.
To make sure we close those relationships well.
Yeah.
And put his mail on auto reply.
Yeah.
And
And then what happened after you let him go?
the team that worked under him was very healthy out there, so they could do things that they wanted to do, experiment with different clients and different
Yeah.
ways. That was something.
All right.
There are some industries which work with like restaurant industry, like even Amazon. There are a lot of people in blue collar. See, we can't leave them because they're high performing. Their values are very less. The restaurant business, the blue collar employees, they don't have value. They switch off their jobs. But the nature of business is.
All right. I'm not going to argue with you. If you want to keep him, you can keep him. I'm telling you it's a bad idea. But it's your company. You can do whatever you want. All right? Oh, no, I'd get rid of them. And when I first started, I didn't get rid of them. When I get rid of them, it is the most invigorating thing. I just had to do this at the trust center. It was absolutely essential. People's motivation to go to work goes down when you have a terrorist in the organization. Yeah. The number one demotivator of people is not how much they get compensated. It's not like, I don't feel like our strategy's good. The number one demotivator is lack of willingness to address poor performance. And think about it. If we're on a boat and we're going across a lake, and I'm on a boat with you, and you're rowing your brains out, and then you look over, and I'm sitting there having a cigarette, kind of, just going, are you going to continue to row really hard? Yeah. You're going to get to the other side of the lake, and you're going to say, I'm not going to be stupid. I am not going to do that. I'm going to part-time this job, or I'm going to find a job where I can work full-time. And so either you leave, or you start ramping down your commitment. It's terribly demotivating to have poor performance and people who aren't committed to the cause. You'll find a lot of people have examples. All right, let's write your things down, and then we're going to questions. And Thomas, you want to collect them?
Just put them down.
I want everyone. I don't want all you people who have been silent. I want to hear it, because you could be the Ed Halen here. You could be the quiet, brilliant one who's going to change the world. Oh, Ed's here. Iskyra, how are you? How old is your baby?
5 months and 2 days.
And what are you doing here?
I'm helping create the next generation of businessmen entrepreneurs.
Innovation-driven entrepreneurs. All right, who's coming up? Brian, you coming up? You don't need to if you don't want to. I'll talk all the time. I have an unlimited number of words. All right. When is your co-director with? When is your co-director with poor company values?
When is your co-director with the poor company values and he has 50% equity? How do you manage your way through that?
First of all, you should never get in a situation where each person has 50%, because you have a terrible situation then. And because you haven't made the hard decision, because you both have this button where you could blow each other up. Yeah, so you either blow up the company, or you go to him and say, can I buy you out? Or can we come to an agreement? I'm going to yammer on, Brian, because you're going to be here. Is that all right? Yes. Yeah, all right. Are there cultures where steps break down and don't work? Yes. Sorry, Brian. I call you up and then I say, all right, I'm going to talk. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because the idea is to review the issues, but let's focus on this first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Question.
Yeah, there are cultures that break down. The way that I'm talking as an American. You may not be able to go out and just fire people like I'm talking about, but you have to address it in that way. And the world is getting more and more homogeneous. There's also family businesses which complicate things because you get personal relationships in it. After one leaves a startup team, as a co-founder, how do you find your next venture without feeling bad about it? Like you made a mistake. If you do a startup, it's a very personal thing. And when you walk away from it, it is gut-wrenching. Just understand that. But as Kenny Rogers said in his song, you got to know when to fold. And you're told quitting is bad. Actually, in entrepreneurship, sometimes quitting is good. You got to know when to fold your hand. If you got a bad hand, if you got a founder that's 50%, and you're not going to solve that. So you go to them and say, this is it. And then you fold and you start over again. It's just like when you're going through the 24 steps. If you got a bad idea, stop, start over again, and run the process a second time. Know when to hold, when to fold. Resilience versus rational. When do you know when to pivot and when do you persevere, I think this is, with family commitments and age creeping in? Well, first of all, none of you are old. How far should we go without losing chances of a rich family? You got it. Look, there's a balance here between family and business. And if you go all in, this week you're not going to do a lot of sleep. I'm not big on that. I think you should sleep. And I think you should have a balanced family life and you think clearly. A lot of times you get away from it. What I used to do was I worked incredibly hard. But when I was done, I went and I would play basketball. And I played with these people who had no idea who I was. Well, they knew who I was because I was there all the time, but they had no idea what I did. And then I remember that there was Eddie the pipe fitter, and Eddie the pipe fitter wanted to kill me. Sometimes even chased me around the gym. Yeah, exactly. And because we played basketball, and we played these games to 7, and everybody gave everything they had to the game to 7, and then you'd win or you'd lose, and then you start over again, you play another game. But everybody was all in. As soon as I had played 1 or 2 of those games, everything was cleared out of my brain. And I could then go home and I could have dinner, and I was healthier the next day. And that's what you have to do. You can't be on all the time. Is this from you, Marius? Yes. Okay. Oh, well, that's a good one. But there's a famous baseball player named Bob Lemon. He said, I never took a bad game home with me. I would leave him at the bar on the way home. You get that? Yeah. But the problem with drinking is, like, it doesn't refresh you necessarily like exercise does. And so you do want to do, I'm big on exercise. Can the 24 steps be used for other than a startup? The answer is absolutely in your personal life. Where's Marriott? In your personal life, Amanda Von Getz used it to, you remember Amanda? She used it, she used to play it, she was from Juilliard, she used to play the piano, and she loved playing the piano, but she hated the whole thing of it because she didn't control the situation. And when she learned the 24 steps, she realized she could create her own piano recitals and control what they were about and who was coming to them. And it brought joy back to her, and she started doing her piano recitals again. So for someone like you, you can be the musician, yet you can also start to control what you're creating and who your fans are and get more involved in it. Okay? You don't have any money. You have an idea that requires capital. Parents not allowing to take loan. What to do? Get your customers to the best money you can ever get is not from an investor, it's from a customer. Go get a customer to buy your product and then say, but I need you to pay up front and I'll give you a 10% discount. No. You only get one. Do you believe that constituency services, by the way, I don't mean to be an asshole to just one person. I'm an asshole to everybody. And if I haven't insulted you before I leave, please see me at the break, all right? Is there anyone I haven't insulted here? Good. 100%. Do you believe that constituency service should be sustainable or scalable? I don't know what that means. Oh, I am not a big consultancy person. Consultancy is a body shop. You don't make any money when you're a body shop. A body shop means you need to throw bodies at it. I like pillow money. Like money, you can make money while you're sleeping. You don't need to be working. Consultancies get into a situation where you need to get contracts and then you get addicted to this constant stream of revenue, but you never build the product that allows you to scale. So not big on consultancies, not big on, now there are people who've come up with ways to build a process for consultancies. Just holy shit, look at that one. I'm gonna give that one to you, Brian. It's like, that exceeds 140 characters. It does not. Up to what number of employees can a flat organization and startup model work? I would say 20. I'm just gonna pull that one out of my ass. But once you get above 20, you cannot. I mean, I was once in an organization, and everybody, when you're like running a company, everybody wants to talk to you. And when you don't talk to them, they think like you don't like them. And that is a problem. And when thank you. And when you start thinking about that, and you have 300 people, and everybody wants to spend 5 minutes talking to you each week, it's impossible to get anything done because it's not 5 minutes. it's going to be more. So what I used to do was have roundtables where you bring 10 employees in and you have breakfast with them. And you talk to them and you communicate them. Don't lose the human touch even when you get bigger. But you cannot sit down and write performance plans and go through all this when you have 20 people. With 10, it's a real stretch. How do you successfully leap from concept to technology? You don't. Do tech developers need to be on the founding team? Not necessarily, but your odds are much, much higher if you have a hacker and a hustler. But we see teams created with 2 MBAs who can't program, but then they have to get a programmer. And if they treat that programmer like a second-class citizen and don't give them co-founder status, all right, Boston. Are you a Pats fan? Good, good, good. That one goes right to the top then. All right? So technology shouldn't lead, quite honestly, but good technologists on the team give you competitive advantage, and that's where your core is going to come from. And somebody has to build products. So you have to have a healthy respect for technology. And you also have to have a healthy respect for the hacker, and the hustler has to have a healthy respect for the hipster, that user experience really matters. And those are really kind of different parts of the brain. They're not the same thing. If there was a 25th step to your 24 steps, what would it be? Erdin, what's the 25th step?
Shameless self-promotion.
Yes. That's his joke. See, he always comes into my office and says that, like when I say, oh. But the thing about jokes is they're funny and then they're not funny, but then if you keep saying them, they can actually become funny again. By the way, my answer to this, if there was a 25th step, it would be windows of opportunities and triggers, which is, I call step 13A in the workbook. That's really important stuff. And it's not in the white book. Does 24 steps start often? Does the 24 steps start from the need or the need plus solution? There are 2 ways it starts. First of all, it can start by saying, I want to be an entrepreneur, but that's not really where it starts. It starts by saying, here is a problem, an opportunity that needs to be solved, or I have a technology that can solve a problem. There's a breakthrough technology. It could be blockchain. I'm a technology. That's called a technology push. Like Sensible was a technology push. You can start companies that way. It's harder, it's more risk, but you have a built-in competitive advantage. Your core is very strong. Usually companies start by market pull. Here's an opportunity, here's a problem that needs to be solved. Either way, the 24 steps works. It starts with market segmentation. Where's the balance in developing tech for a better world and generating gross affluence, wealth, and inequality? It's the same thing. I don't know who said this, every entrepreneur that we have, I want to be a social entrepreneur. I don't want to have a different class of people who are called social entrepreneurs. Everyone in this room should have a raison d'etre for their company. Why is the world a better place because your company exists than it doesn't? And if you're just doing it for the money, I don't think you're going to last, and I don't really care. I mean, I don't really want to support you. That's why the first box is raison d'etre. Because you're not going to attract people if it's just about making money. Again, because if it's just about making money, they'll come to you until Goldman Sachs calls, and then they'll just be mercenaries and goes there. I can tell you the story, Billikis and all, Ed and all, Skyra. Where's Skyra? She's still here? Yeah. I mean, social entrepreneurship you can do good and do well at the same time, and sometimes those are the most powerful companies in the world. Could low company values alliance be linked to poor socializing of those same values and strategic horizon? So how could you fight lack of motivation and performance if there is not a clear terrorist? I'm not sure what this means, but raison d'etre is the answer. Your company should have a very good reason for being and clear values, and say, it's not about money. If we have to win, and this is kind of what the problem you see with companies like Uber, where they have an existential crisis where we just need to win. It's all about winning. No, you want to win with certain values and for a certain reason. It's not just making money. And that's unfortunate, and this is a problem when you go public. Should an entrepreneur seek funding at an ideation stage? No. They should get it once they have product market fit. Gut it out. You get money too soon, you're not going to build up the muscles you have. If a startup is shifting its focus from customer to dealing with individual businesses in order to provide some stability, is it necessarily bad? It's very, very hard to go from B to C to B to B. It's very hard for companies to go from B to B to B to C. It's very hard to do both. Either you got to, there are some exceptions, but Dropbox is learning this in spades, even though they're throwing tons of money at it. B to C is kind of a different cadence, a different type of people. It's very rare that you do B to C and B to B in the same company. Choose yours and go after it. By the way, you can completely ignore what I have to say, and that's your prerogative. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to get on a plane tomorrow morning. I'm going to get on Qantas Air. I'm going to get a nice meal. I'm going to have a drink, and I'm not going to be thinking about you bastards at all. It's your problem at that point. And so you're free to ignore what I have to say. What is the best way to resolve issues between a co-founder? The first thing is find a trusted party between the two people that you both trust. So one of Erdin's companies, if you don't mind, can I talk about Ubiquitous? So one of his companies, there were two founders, and I liked both of them very, very much. And I had no horse in the race. And so when they had issues, which happens, there is no co-founders who never have issues. That is just ridiculous. And if there are, then there's too many people in the room. Like, if everyone in the room is always agreeing with you, there's too many people in the room, right? So they could come to me and say, hey, can you help us here? And they knew that I was in interest for both of them, and I would say, let's talk about this. So finding someone and getting that person on board, and this is how you break the 50-50 tie too, because once you get somebody else involved, if they're the two co-founders, and they just go at each other, it gets very, very personal. You just go, but if you can get a third party that both trust to talk and say, wait a second, neither of them want to look bad in front of this person. So all of a sudden you start to make it more rational. What is the most important issue facing humanity? And what are you doing about it? Honestly, I think it's what bifurcation of society that you're seeing today with things where people start blowing up their own neighborhoods. What's happened in the United States is people just give up hope. They say, I think Donald Trump's an idiot, but let's just blow up the whole thing. There was once a time in the United States there was a person named Rodney King. I don't know if, and at this point, police were unfairly targeting black people and treating them. And then there was this video of someone named Rodney King. How many of you know Rodney King? So there was a video of a policeman brutalizing a black person in Los Angeles. Just horrible, absolutely horrible. Totally caught on camera, goes viral, and it's just the worst. And the person actually gets acquitted in court. That means found not guilty. Blacks in inner city are so fed up. They are so fed up, they immediately go out and start setting fires and looting stores. Do you know where they set fires? In their own neighborhoods. You know who they looted? Their neighbors. They had lost hope. They just did totally irrational things. That's what happens when people don't have hope in their life. So with this thing, I don't know whether you meant this as a joke. What do? I want to give people hope in their life. I want to give people pride in their life. I want to give them rigor in their life so that we don't have this crazy shit going on anymore. Because once people have that, they're not going to set fire to their own neighborhoods. They're not going to elect people who are against their own interests. So every day I get up and I say, how can we not just train people in entrepreneurship at MIT? How can we train millions of people so that they have hope in their lives, so that they start making rational decisions and not just lashing out against the system? And as an entrepreneur, how did you go about growing yourself into areas of weakness? You just admit what they are, and you try to do what you can, the best you can, and you hire people around you. You work with other people who have other sets of skills. I'm not a great engineer. Thomas Massey is a phenomenal engineer. Elaine Chen, a phenomenal engineer. Tom Ellery, phenomenal salespeople. You acknowledge what you are and what you're not, and then you get those people around you, and you give them equity, you give them trust, you give them support, you build your wolf pack. What is the best way to find and hire talent to develop a startup that is just taking off and you don't have much money? What do you think the answer is? Raison d'etre. You got to build that cult. You got to get them to believe in the vision. If they don't believe in that remember, 3 things: common vision, shared values, and complementary skills. You got to have those. How do you solve a major problem like food wastage if the problem itself is never clear enough without multiple companies working on it? I think food scarcity is a well-defined problem, and there are lots of companies working on it, and I trust entrepreneurs to solve that problem much more than I trust the government or Monsanto to solve that problem. So I think that companies like Spoiler Alert, Ed, were they in your grade? Ricky and Emily? Yeah, they're doing phenomenal stuff. Phenomenal. They weren't in yours, Iskyra, were they? You TA'd them? Yeah. Were they in the class? I thought they'd graduated by then. You look so much younger than them, Iskyra. That was a poor recovery, wasn't it? What is the most successful case built on disciplined entrepreneurship? Okta. Okta has just turned 10 tomorrow. The founder, Freddie Karst, who I think everybody knows, I think they're worth $8 billion. Although this is easy. From a monetary standpoint, it's Okta. $8 billion. He's now doing a podcast, which you all should subscribe to, called Zero to IPO. His company has grown like crazy. He is now starting another company. He is being philanthropic about what he's doing as well. He has a wife who's a doctor, practicing doctor, and he has 3 kids. We could point to Bilikus. Who's anyone from Lagos, Nigeria? She has a company called WeCyclers that is taking waste, picking up waste, with creating jobs for young people with bicycles, going around picking up waste, and then driving that, sorting it out, taking it to places to where it's recycled. So cleaning up the city, creating jobs for young people, creating clean energy, and they get paid for that, and it is a business that can be for profit. She's just now been pulled out of that. Every single business, Iskyra doing what she does, Ed doing what he does, they're all my favorite, because I love all of my children equally. Special little snowflakes. How do you personally, I don't know if that's a question you wanted, so whoever asked that question probably wanted to, does disciplined entrepreneurship work? And if you don't believe that it works by logic, then that's your, I am totally convinced now that it works, and I see it all the time, and those are some examples. How do you personally ensure you stay humble and grounded as you start to become successful? The 25th step. You just, I don't know, you just, you are what you are, right? I mean, if you listen to me, I can guarantee you when I get home and I walk through my door, I am a complete idiot because my kids are there and I can't say anything that's smart, and my wife will tell me that I'm an idiot too. So if you're married and have kids, you stay humble. What is the TAM for the boot camp? The TAM for the boot camp is not measured in dollars, it's measured in people. It's measured in what impact we have on the world. TAM is not just about dollars. And what's the TAM for the boot camp? It's 1 billion people. If we can, it's millions of people. We would like to train millions of people, and we would like you to go forward and help train other people. We see you as a force multiplier. How do you recommend to go full-time from the start? Is it possible to run effectively part-time to use your presence in another market? Sometimes you can't go full-time right away, but it's really hard to it's much harder to get a company off the ground. So when you're working part-time. But there's a I forget his name, wrote a book called Parallel Entrepreneurship. Do you remember? It's a classmate of you guys. You look up the book, it's called Parallel Entrepreneurship. He says, keep your job and do a side hustle. And then when it gets big enough, then you can jump into that. I'm not a big believer in that. I think you got to be all in on something. Will large tech companies like Amazon only become more and more powerful? The smart ones, Amazon, the problem now with data is the data creates networking effects. So it's very dangerous. And how will we compete with this? There's always markets. Amazon just bought PillPack. You know, they buy Chewy. If they could, they'd buy Chewy.com. They can't do everything, so they'll buy small companies. So you can compete. If you were a strong wolf and you were in a wolf pack, you can take down big companies. Was there any constructive feedback you always remember? You know, there's just infinite amount. And one of the ones that sticks with me is I got reprimanded. Like the company was doing really well, and I got reprimanded. They said, Bill, you don't take credit for what it is, and you're hurting the company. Because I'm a point guard. If any of you know basketball, I'm really just a slow white point guard who can't shoot. And a point guard in basketball tries to set other people up. And they're thrilled if they pass it to Erdin and Erdin scores. That's your thrill. Your thrill is not, you're not the centerpiece of it. And in a company once, a board member really laid into me and he said, sometimes you can't be the point guard. Sometimes you have to stand up and take credit for this stuff, not for you personally, but for the company. And so sometimes you have to do things that are not natural for you for the good of the company. And I thought that was really pretty interesting. That was very helpful to me. I don't know whether I do it well, but how do you resolve leadership and management conflicts without compromising on integrity? You must have leadership and you must have management. And if you're the leader, you must make it clear that you value both in the organization. Is this your first one or your second one? Oh, you're going to get me started on that one. So you have to be clear that you first value that and then show it to other people. And when management is talking trash on leadership, you need to step in and say, no, we need that. Look at Lehman Brothers, some of these other companies where management took over, and that will optimize, but then when the next thing comes along, we won't be able to handle that. And when leadership is not treating management fairly, you need to say, no, that's not right, and put them on your management team and show the respect. What are the major differences between materials presented for product-based companies versus service-based companies? Product-based companies are really based on value-based pricing as opposed to kind of billable hours. Service businesses are based on billable hours. So value-based pricing versus essentially a cost-based model of hours. Do you believe big businesses such as Amazon have a responsibility to the planet? And do you think government policy should force this? Absolutely. It's ridiculous what's going on with the climate, that there's no carbon tax out there. You have made some comments about MBAs this week. What do you think about them? I love them. Look, an MBA is not an MBA. All MBAs are not the same. The problem with MBAs is they used to be all about management. Now, Rowena and I are talking about this. it's different now. You used to get an MBA, and that was your golden passport, they called it. You were going to be successful because you had this credential the rest of your life. That doesn't work anymore. When you go into a startup, which is where most of the jobs are, people don't give a damn whether you have an MBA. They care. There's 3 people in a startup. This is like this, they always say, is there are people who make product, there are people who sell product, and there are people who are leaving. Right? They don't want someone who's talking about strategy. Remember what our friend was talking here earlier today? They don't want MBAs coming in there and doing that. There's another famous quote said, how valuable is your company? Your company is the number of really good engineers you have times $1 million minus the number of MBAs you have times $500,000. This is not the right way to think about it. The MBAs have to change, and Bill Gurley, no one less than Bill Gurley, who is probably the most respected venture capitalist in the world right now at a benchmark, he came and he talked about it. He sees all the deals in Silicon Valley. He says, what they don't need is more technology. He said, what they don't need are crazy ideas. He said, what they need are fundamental go-to-market strategies. They need teams that know how to execute. And that's what MBAs need to be focused on, is how do they get entrepreneurial skills, not credentials. Schools have been dependent on credentials. You have a credential as an MBA. That means you have a job. People don't care about that. What can you do for me? Can you sell product? Can you make product? What are you going to do for me? It's value-based as opposed to. So I joke about a lot of stuff. I am not down on MBAs. MBA has to be changed. I am down on people who talk in ways that are theoretical but not actionable, because that's the way I am. And that's the way I think you want to be, is you have to put stuff into action. You cannot sit around and theorize about stuff. What value is it going to produce quickly? What are the ways to put money into your startup without investors? Well, you can get government money. You can go and enter business plan competitions. Both of those are good at an early stage. You can get customers to pay you up front. You go in and say, here's this brochure. You really like it? Great. Would you be willing to pay us 50% up front? And we'll deliver it to you, and we'll customize it to you. And by the way, if you do that, I'll give you a 10% discount. Get it from your customers. Get it from the... Kickstarter is a dangerous way to get money, just so we're clear. It's a dangerous way to get money. I don't know if you're going to talk about this. But you get money up front, but you don't know who your customers are, and they're all over the place. Actually, I talked about this already, didn't I? Yeah, you can get... Yeah. I repeat myself often. What is the most money you have made from a single sale company? Not enough, but I don't care. Since Visage was half $500 million, but I feel, I don't need that much. As I told you, my car was $50 when I went to college. There's too many questions here. Litmus test for selecting a personal co-founder. I'm going to go with that one. The litmus test for selecting a co-founder is, first, are they an energy amplifier? By that I mean, if we're working together, either we give energy to each other or we take energy away from each other. It is never 1 + 1 = 2. 1 + 1 equals less than 2 or more than 2. Either us working together, we give each other energy, or we don't. If we don't, you taking off, Rowena? You need energy amplifiers. Always look for that person that you can get energy from because they have a skill set, you trust them, and that. You can't overcome that. If they're not energy amplifiers, you're going to start getting less than 1, and it's going to start, then you're not going to have good energy in your organization. Can I have your email ID? No. Tweet me on Twitter, and I will respond. Thoughts on Jordan B. Pearson? Who is he? Who has the best MBA program? Who's Jordan B. Pearson? Yeah, I don't know him. I'm not an intellectual. Who has the best MBA program? That's a personal decision. What do you want? I mean,
I just wanted to press you because being on it, it's like we were saying, so I was wondering
oh,
your opinion.
well, you shouldn't ask me, you should ask them. But to me, if you want to be an entrepreneur, I think MIT is a fabulous place to go to school because it's not a business school that's separated from the rest of the school. It's integrated. When you go to some of these schools, there's literally like a river, and there might as well be crocodiles in it to get from the School of Engineering to the business school. And it's a totally different architecture. Here it is. And MIT is all about those heterogeneous teams and being an entrepreneur. If you want to be a venture capitalist, to be honest, and please don't tweet this, MIT is not the best place to go if you want to be a venture capitalist, right? They hate it when I say that, but it's not. It's the best place if you want to be an innovation-driven entrepreneur. If you want to be a small business, Babson's a great place, If you want to have a great network, Harvard's a great place, right? So, what are key skills you get from working at a large company? How to manage people. That was what I learned at IBM, how to manage people, how to write an appraisal, and I got lots of opportunities to do things. When you're in a large company, you're dramatically underpaid, and you should try out new things.
At what step did boot campers graduate? At what point did boot camper graduates reach out to you to have the MIT message?
Oh, by the way, just tweet me, and then I will look when I'm traveling. I'll look at these things. But my emails, as Erdin knows, I just get overwhelmed, and I can't. I'll just be doing emails all day long.
I don't understand that question. What is next for you, Bill?
I have a granddaughter in New York, and I hope my kids produce lots of grandchildren. They're not doing it very rapidly. And I'm not angry.
I'm just disappointed. The core of Walmart is logistics supply network all around the world to get products of low cost. But for a startup, it would take a long. That's right. That's right. So I'm off.
Erdin, we're done?
Well, we cannot be done without some inspiring messages for the boot campers.
I think we've got it, right? What more do you want me to say? All right,
there's all these. All right, let's hold on to this.
Bill, I'm so sorry. We have to move on because we've got deliverables. The teams need to work.
Oh, yes, yes.
But boot campers, on behalf of the bootcamp, Bill,
no,
thank you so very much.
look, I owe you all a thank you. What Erdin, Vimala, and Thomas and True are doing, Rowena, you hosting us here, this is so, people how could you be so energized? Because this is what I live for. I mean, the world's a screwed up place, as you know. And the only way it's going to get better is by people like you doing it. And so when we come out here, this energizes us to no end. Let me tell you, sitting in a cubicle in an academic institution is like getting a lobotomy. Coming out here and meeting with you all, that's the real deal. And hopefully you've had a lot of fun, you've heard a lot of stories here. But do not take what we're doing as a joke. It ain't. It is not a joke. This is damn serious stuff that we're doing. And if you can become a successful entrepreneur, if you can pass on what we're doing here to 4 or 5 other people, if you can help take your institutions and make them more entrepreneurial and say, no, entrepreneurship can be taught. And we're not going to settle for storytelling. We're going to be rigorous about this. Then that's what we want. And then the world will be a better place. Otherwise, it's not, I'm optimistic. The human spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship has always saved us, and it will again. So thank you very, very much. It's been my pleasure. And we'll hopefully see you all soon.